So you're a physician, a nurse, or an advanced practice provider. You've spent years, decades even, honing your craft, becoming a true expert at what you do. And then boom, you get that promotion. You're a leader now. And all of a sudden, it feels like the rulebook has totally changed. The very things that made you a star clinician, well, they're just not the skills you need to lead a team. This is what we call the leadership paradox. And honestly, it's one of the biggest challenges our hospital teams are dealing with right now. I mean, really think about it. Your clinical skills, they're world class. You can diagnose the toughest cases, you can nail complex procedures. You're at the absolute top of your game. But what about your leadership skills? If you had to rate yourself on how well you inspire your team, how well you help them grow, what would that number be? That's the big question we're going to dig into today. And look, this isn't just some abstract theoretical idea. This is a huge, real-world challenge. In fact, major healthcare initiatives, like the Culture Coalition, are laser-focused on this exact problem. Why? Because they know that having great clinical leaders isn't a nice-to-have, it's absolutely essential for patient care, for team morale, and for the success of the entire organization.
Okay, so why is this so hard? Why does this jump from clinician to leader trip up so many brilliant people? Well, it often boils down to this fascinating idea called the success paradox. And it's a trap, a sneaky one that catches so many high achievers, especially in a pressure cooker environment like healthcare, and they often don't even see it coming.
The legendary executive coach Marshall Goldsmith just nailed this idea in his book. The title says it all, really. The message is so simple, but it is so profound. It's this. The very habits and behaviors that made you an amazing, successful clinician, those are very often the exact same things that will stop you from being an effective leader. So what is this paradox, really? It's this tricky belief we have deep down that because certain habits got us to where we are, they must be good things, right? They must be virtues. You think your bluntness is just being efficient, or when you take over a task from someone, you're just ensuring quality. But when you become a leader, those same habits suddenly look different. They come across as abrasive or like you're micromanaging everyone. You get to a point where you genuinely start believing your flaws are actually your greatest strengths. And if you think that sounds a little extreme, get this. The data here is pretty wild. Goldsmith found that a whopping 85% of successful professionals rate themselves in the top 20% of their peers. You don't have to be a math genius to know that's impossible. What it shows is that the more successful we become, the blurrier our self-perception gets. And that gap in self-awareness, that is the first massive hurdle you've got to clear. So let's bring this back to the hospital floor. How does this paradox actually show up day to day? We're going to diagnose 4 of the most common career-limiting habits that trip up new clinical leaders. And as I go through them, just be honest with yourself. See if any of these hit a little too close to home. All right, habit number 1, adding too much value. Picture this. A resident on your team presents a really solid care plan. But you, the senior leader, you can't help yourself. You jump in with a helpful suggestion just to tweak it a little. Now, you might have just improved that plan by, 5%? But here's the kicker. You just torpedoed that resident's commitment to the plan by 50%. Because it's not their plan anymore, it's yours. This habit comes from a good place, a desire to help, but it absolutely crushes your team's ownership and drive. Okay, next up is the need to win. All the time. And look, in a clinical setting, being right can literally be the difference between life and death. We get that. But what about winning an argument over the new schedule or which brand of gloves to order? When you turn every conversation into a competition you have to win, you just wear people out. You create this culture where nobody wants to speak up or share an idea, and that is so dangerous for the teamwork that patient safety relies on. This third one, this one is a killer, making destructive comments. You know what I'm talking about? That little sarcastic remark in a stressful situation, that witty put down of a colleague. You might think it's no big deal, just blowing off steam. But those little comments, they're like acid. They just slowly, quietly eat away at the psychological safety on your team. And without that safety, people won't speak up, they won't ask questions, and they definitely won't admit a mistake. And in a hospital, that's a recipe for disaster. And finally, habit number 4, just not listening. A nurse comes to you with a genuine concern, but as they're talking, you're not really hearing them. You're just waiting for them to stop so you can say what you want to say. You're formulating your rebuttal. The message you're sending in that moment is crystal clear. What I have to say is way more important than what you have to say. It makes people feel small, and it completely shatters trust. Okay, so we've diagnosed the symptoms. What's the prescription? What's the cure? Well, the good news is it's not about memorizing a bunch of new leadership theories from a textbook. The most powerful solution is actually much, much simpler. But it does require a radical shift in how you think about improvement. You know, the brilliant management guru Peter Drucker absolutely nailed it. He said we spend so much time trying to teach leaders what to do. We don't spend nearly enough time teaching them what to stop doing. Think about that. The journey to becoming a better leader isn't about adding more stuff. It's about subtraction. It's about finding that one, maybe two, negative habits that are holding you back and finding the guts and the discipline to just stop. But, okay, how do you actually stop? I mean, it sounds simple, but we all know it's not easy. Luckily, Marshall Goldsmith gives us a really clear, structured treatment plan, if you will, to make this kind of change actually last. Let's break it down. All right, so the whole thing starts with humility. You have to ask people for honest feedback. Step 2, just listen. No defending yourself, no excuses. Just listen. Then take some time to really think about what you heard. And then, and this is big, you thank them for having the courage to tell you the truth. Next, you have to involve your team. You tell them out loud what you're working on. From there, you actually start to change. But honestly, the secret sauce, the thing that makes this whole system work, is the last step. Follow up. You have to keep asking your team, hey, how am I doing? That's the only way they'll know you're for real. That's how you make the change permanent. And here's a really powerful little tool to help with this. It's all about the kinds of questions you ask. Check out the difference here. A passive question like, do you guys have clear goals? See how that kind of puts the blame on them? Now look at the active version. Did I do my best to set clear goals for you? Boom. It forces you to take ownership. It's such a simple tweak in language, but it completely shifts the focus from what everyone else should be doing to what you can control. So listen, this isn't about changing your entire personality overnight. It's about finding that one thing, just one. So I want you to really think about it honestly. What is the one behavior that, if you just stopped doing it, starting today, would make the biggest positive difference for your team? Whatever your answer is, that's it. That's your first step. That's the start of your journey from being an expert clinician to becoming the great leader your team needs.